Hey gang, so you might be wondering why this section of my chest is missing. So CIG has dropped the Squadron 42 monthly report, and this is something I believe they released it on Friday via email if you're a subscriber, and then they release it here. This one, Squadron 42, always tends to be shorter than the PU, and there's a lot of information that's the same on both of them. And in the past, I haven't spent a lot of time on Squadron 42 just because so much of Squadron 42 is under wraps. We don't know when it's coming. We can't play it right now, so there's not really a big reason to focus on it. But one of the things that I kind of want to see from this year, 2023, is I want to get some hints that Squadron 42 is close. If not moved into beta in the next month or two, at least that they start sounding like this thing could actually happen for real soon and not soon trademark. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a shallow dive into the monthly report. All right. Catch me on the other side. All right, so here we are on the Squadron 42 monthly report. I don't remember if they always used to do this reference on there. Like I said, I don't read the Squadron 42 report all that often. I'll kind of glance through it when I get the email, but I don't know. If you know, let me know down below. I guess I could just go back and look through my old emails. But here we go. So we're going to drop down into AI content. Again, the report for Squadron 42 tends to be a lot shorter than the PU just because they're trying to hold a lot back so that the game isn't spoiled, which I get, but at this point, just let us see the damn game. But let's go ahead and get into this. So I'm not going to spend as long sort of pontificating on all this stuff like I did with the Starses and the PU monthly report. If you want that, I'll put a link in the up above parts right here. Otherwise, let's go ahead and start going. All right. Nerd mode engaged. So first up, we got AI content. Toward the end of the year, the AI content team completed a significant number of tasks for Chapter 15. This included prototyping animations for crowds and combatants alongside developing several usable animation sets for dejected characters around the level. So just to kind of drive this point home, another reason I kind of want to focus on Squadron 42 is because CIG is really focusing on Squadron 42 now. But Squadron 42 and the PU are effectively the same game. Everything we're going to get in Squadron 42, we're going to have in the PU. It's just they're releasing the single player game first, which honestly, I think that's the way they should have made these games, was make Squadron 42, get all of those mechanics down, drop it on us, and be like, here you go! And then you make the massively multiplayer game concurrently with all of those mechanics, plus the new game loops and everything else. And that's the kind of thing that you could roll out. We could have had, I don't think we would have gotten Squadron 42 much more recently, given some of the jumps they made, but just thought. I'll try to keep my sidebars to a minimum on this one so it doesn't get too bloated. But with Chapter 15, let's see, I got that one open already. So this one was 120 or 102 weeks, roughly a 2-year sprint. Cinematography, gameplay, story, narrative, Squadron 42, level design, social. So it's kind of an interesting mix of teams. So Chapter 15 is going to be probably going around the big station that we're going to end up on, the one that's just gigantic. I think it's several kilometers long. It's made for mining the coil, and just drilling into gigantic things like those huge asteroids, or mom. But we've got, let's see, welding engineer also received a lot of improvements. The team made an extensive pass on animations progressed with the technical challenge of getting the welding helmet, multi-part tools, and welding effects working together. So I think we kind of have that on the in the foundries on the various stations. But this right here, so one of the reasons I kind of want to focus a little bit more on AI is I've already kind of decided that we're probably not getting Pyro this year. So if we're not getting Pyro, I want to be able to see major progress in the game, especially if they get Pez working. I expect to see the AI to start working like they've been saying for years the AI should be working, because they've also been saying for years that one of the major blockers between what they want to see and what we are seeing is that the servers are just overloaded. And so with that in mind, once Pez is out, it takes some of the load off the servers. We should start seeing the AI acting much more like they describe here than it has been for the last few years. And so with that in mind, this is kind of the show me year for this one for AI. And it kind of sounds, at least for Squadron 42, it's been working for a while, which makes sense. It's a single player game. It just isn't working for the PU, but this kind of gives us a hint for what we'll get in the PU. That's kind of the last of my real sidebars on that. So let's see, AI character interacting with a variety of usables in living space, bridge crew. So bridge crew will be big because if you've got a big ship and you want to have NPC crews, that's what that is. Mop and bucket is another one, character interacting with a variety of usables. That's why I said it's not just a mop and bucket. It's interacting with a variety of things. They're just kind of using the mop and bucket to try to get the AI to interact with it. And then they can, once they've got that, they can apply it to other things and iterate on it. And they finished that a month or two back. Organization work, production work, animation schedule. They'll implement usables and behaviors in the final game, the levels earlier in the pipeline, which is good. The earlier they get that in, the more set it'll be when they move to beta, which I think they are effectively in beta now. It doesn't really sound like they're adding any new mechanics. They may be iterating on mechanics that they've developed. Really, I think the last big thing they have to knock out for Squadron 42 at this point is the flight model, which is no small thing, but it sounds like that's coming by 319-ish. Last year, the team implemented AI functionality into manned turrets, so we've had that for a little while. Team worked on implementing a wide range of panic, cower, and surrender behaviors for both unarmed civilians and enemy NPCs that have run out of ammunition and weapons. So that is just really cool. I don't think I've ever played a game where I've been fighting against an enemy NPC and they've run out of ammo. I honestly can't think of a game where that's happened, much less that they've run out of ammo and been like, just kidding. So that's kind of cool. Unarmed civilian sees an enemy that is unholstered weapon. They will notify characters nearby using wild line and then panic run to a hidden point of cover. Oh my God, he's got a gun. Dive behind a table, that kind of thing. There's a lot of things in here that are just really cool. So natural looking behavior, just making the NPCs feel more real. Armed enemies that have run out of ammo will run to cover while searching for valid ammo and weapons. Again, if their cover is exposed, they'll reevaluate and run to a new position. So yeah, if we start seeing things like this, even if it's just civilian NPCs just cowering or, putting up their hands, just kind of doing this rather than just standing there. Like you go on a bunker mission now and you'll see the civilian NPCs that kind of look like techs. they'll just kind of be sitting there working while there's a firefight going around, while the guard NPCs and the Ninetales NPCs are shooting at each other 5 feet away from them. They're just like, yeah, this really looks like a box right there, and just hunched down in front of it, and they shouldn't be doing that. So hopefully AI starts acting a lot more like they've been describing in these. Towards the end of the year, revisit, tidy up loose ends, Vandal investigation behavior. During the cat and mouse gameplay section, the Vandal will now investigate the floor vents in the room with different animations for direct alertness levels. That Vandal are going to be scary. They are going to be utterly terrifying, I think, the first time you bump into them. That is pretty cool. Okay, after feedback from the design team, new functionalities were added for the accuracy calculation. So this is one of those things that is kind of gamified for a single player game or a game in general. Just fighting against NPCs, you want the player to be the hero. Of course, when they play against another player and they're used to beating the NPCs so easily, they're gonna have a nasty shocker. So they're adding a mercy timer, firing time, and time since scene accuracy modifiers. Mercy modifier is if they've got you pinned, they'll start becoming a little bit less accurate, just to kind of give you, the hero of the story, a chance to get away. When your player's health has reached a certain limit. So if they're ripping you up, they'll kind of downgrade their accuracy to give you a chance to do something heroic. Firing time accuracy modifier reduces the accuracy over firing periods for similar purposes. Yeah. Time since scene allows the player a grace period after moving out of cover, during which the attacker's accuracy will be lower. So if you sprint, it's going to take them a couple seconds to pick you up and start shooting at your new location, to give you enough time to like just barely get out by the skin of your teeth. So good gamification for a single player game. AI tech during both the Persistent Universe and Squadron 42. So I think this one is pretty much a one-to-one. I wanted to say that there was one more, there was a couple little more nuggets hidden in the Squadron 42 one that weren't in the PU one. Like you can see that this one here about traversing the airlock, that's one that was in the PU. Again, link in the up above parts near the beginning, you'll find it. Sure, you know how Google works. At the end of the year, base functionality for NPCs driving ground vehicles was completed. That'll be kind of cool. See that run around on planets and stuff. Navigation system that marks entities to be ignored during the navigation mesh generation. Pretty neat. NPC perception, lightness and darkness will affect NPC's visual perception. Right now it doesn't. If they can see you at 100 yards, they can see you at 100 yards, whether it's night or day. If you've come up on any of the locations where the NPCs are outside, the little outposts and stuff like that. If it's night and you're kind of shuffling through cover in the trees and stuff, they can still see you at 100 yards, even if it's night or day. So hopefully this will fix that. Let's see, there was another one. Okay, so this is a new one. For locomotion, improvements continue on sharp turn assets and how they're triggered for alien characters or at walking speeds. Related to this, work began on follow tech, buddy AI behavior. Pretty nice. There was one here. I think it's a little further down, so we'll keep going. AI vehicles, improvements for flight AI, including largely complete. Yeah, right now the flight AI, especially down near the ground, needs some work. Core combat logic. We're working toward more varied and interesting ship combat experience than before. So we are planning out and making changes to combat AI AI and testing them in Squadron 42 to get the experience we want. That is incredibly vague. Okay, animation. Working on Vanduul execution, zero-G player movement, and various animations set for background life. That's nice. Added skill level variation to takedowns alongside new weapons, probably melee weapons. Then shot mocap for a variety of additional scenes and gameplay needs. Create facial animation for various story and background characters. With the Vanduul executions, one of the things I think they mentioned in the last monthly report was when it's about to do an execution on you, when a Vanduul is about to do an execution on you, you'll get like a very tiny window to be able to dodge out of the way, like a quick time event, I'm guessing. Concept artists worked on this art for characters, armor variation concepts for the Screaming Galsons to help fill out their faction, and continued work on key campaign character. Interesting. Artists also work on Screaming Galson's armors, along with Navy pilot flight suit and a new creature. Tech art skin the main Navy jumpsuit and paired assets for the deck crew, engineers, and gunners. All right. There was one point. Hang on. I'm going to scroll up for just a bit because I know I read this. Okay. I wasn't able to find it, but somewhere in there they were talking about a new alien animations, which I thought it was animation, but apparently it's not there. I know I read it, so it's buried in there somewhere, or maybe I just read it too quickly, but my guess would be it's Xi'an, since they already have Xi'an cargo and Xi'an facial rigging. They're both Squadron 42 assets. Seems like that would be a pretty safe bet for me that they're working on a Xi'an character. So concept artists worked on tattoos, Screaming Galsons, we already did that. Environmental art approach content complete on several chapter locations, including chapter 711, which we don't know what chapter 711 is, so cool. But that's still the fact that they're saying they're content complete is telling me they're getting real close to beta. So I'm thinking my go, no go guess might have been right. They might have said no go, but just a few months more down the line, so we'll see. I have a feeling they'll be talking a lot more about Squadron 42 this year than they have the previous 3. So down to the engine. So a lot of the engine things are kind of technical, but you can kind of read between the lines on them. November and December were busy months for the physics team. Yeah, I'll bet they were, because as they're kind of finalizing the flight model, the physics model better be pretty damn good. OBB grid cell overlap checks. I assume that is one call for a grid node instead of cell by cell. Not sure what that is. Also, substepping for attached AI controller NPCs on the server was disabled to bring back actor entity step performance. So yeah, Gen 12 render, obviously they're implementing that. Regarding atmosphere and volumetric clouds, because the volumetric clouds are a little bit janky. I think we read about this on the PE report. Initial draft of a new temporal render mode was submitted and will continue to be worked on in the coming months to provide better rendering performance of Ray March volumetric clouds and atmosphere. Furthermore, various options for refined cloud shaping were brainstormed with tech art and will hopefully find their way into release soon, which would be good, because one of the tips that I give people when they're jumping in and they're having frame issues is kill details on the clouds, and that almost always fixes the majority of it. And, along with the obvious ones like VSync and I forget what the other one is. Think I'd remember it since I've said it so many times. Core engine, pack data. With Clang, just moving text to huge pages gave a 7% speed up. Yeah, so a lot of this in here is just kind of utilizing the CPU to take on more of the load to speed the game up, speed up the frames. I don't understand all of this, but the general idea is now they're getting to the point that they can start optimizing, which is a really good sign. That's basically what this says, is we've started optimizing, which they could probably say we've started optimizing, and that would tell everybody all of this pretty much. It's cool that they're going into the details, but I think like maybe 1% of the population of the players of this game can actually follow that, but I think it's more for just getting the information out there in general. Features for the vehicles, largely completing a full rework of quantum travel, which is being integrated into Squadron 42 for testing, which means that we're probably going to be getting in the PU, maybe for 319, if not 319.1 or 0.2 or 0.12 or however high they have to go on it before 4.0 drops. VFX team integrating new effects for quantum travel. Again, polishing it up, getting ready to roll it out. Vehicle features complete a significant refactor of the aiming system, and are currently working with UI to implement new aiming reticles and pips to go alongside it. That's cool. Just again, they're polishing and they're making the UI better, which kind of tells me they're hitting that point where they're kind of happy where things are. Now it's time to optimize and polish. Significant time towards the end of 2022 went to the MFDs and HUDs, vehicle UI reworks. Awesome. This is the other thing that I'm looking forward to. My sort of running theory is that 319 is going to be a sort of tier 0 engineering patch and a UI upgrade patch. So I think we're going to be getting new MFDs, new HUDs, and different kinds of controls and stuff like that, basically bringing it over. So I'll just read the quote from the VFT here. The base MFD system is making huge strides, and we've partially implemented most of the core MFD screens for ships using new building block systems, which is good. Building blocks is a lot faster than Flash. We're just starting to build the new HUD, which deeply integrates with the MFD system with configuration options and MFD casting options, which is very neat. Control surfaces, continued development, and last 2 months, the team improved stalling and transitions. For example, when a ship detects it's about to stall, it can automatically enable thrusters to stop it from falling. Similarly, when a ship is detected it's going fast enough to sustain control surfaces or a control surface flight, it can automatically shut down its maneuvering thrusters and start flying solely with control surfaces. So in other words, if you have a ship that's shaped like an airplane, like a Gladius, the wings generate lift at a certain speed. So the faster you're going, the more lift is going to be generated by the wings, and the less the maneuvering thrusters have to do. But unlike modern airplanes, when the plane slows down and the wings are no longer generating enough lift, then the thrusters, because it's a spaceship, can take over and keep it airborne. That's basically what they're saying there, which is pretty neat. Gameplay story. They usually go real vague on this. Another area further explored was holstering and unholstering. This time the team was making a grab for the multi-tool and data pad, exact position. It attaches to the character and places it back. Now, one of the things they mentioned in the PU1 was getting away from the strict matrices of if a character is extra tall or something and they try to use the skeleton, that shouldn't change too much because proportionally they should be the same. Let's go back up here. For example, help characters climb back into ships after speaking with the player. Preparing and shooting mocap for various scenes. I do think they over rely on mocap. There is something to be said for keyframe animation, but that's neither here nor there. A number of updates were also made to characters in Chapter 4 and 8. They involve utilizing the latest female walk cycle to enable the AI to seamlessly enter and exit the system, or the scenes. That's good, because the female walk is janky. It's almost like a catwalk. Like somebody, like a model walking on a catwalk. It doesn't look like a natural walk a woman would have. So a male walk is the hips will actually roll like this. They'll clank over. Women actually swing their hips under when they walk. So it looks visually different. They way overdid it on the female walk. And if you know what to look for, it looks really weird. But I'm glad that they're kind of tackling that again. And as Paul Shelley of Astropub fame says, the male character needs a butt. He does not have a butt. He needs a butt. Anyway, gameplay story. We don't know what any of these things are. So, cool. I mean, we can kind of divine a few things from this, but it's kind of like, neat. All right, graphics and VFX programming. VFX programming for the new quantum effects. We know they're working on clouds. Work on the fire hazard system is ramping up again. That's kind of cool because they were going hard on that on the beginning of last year, and then they just kind of dumped it sounded like, or other things took priority, obviously, but it sounds like they're jumping back into it. Controlling fire and its propagation for design purposes. So, fire. Level design. Social Steam progressed well in the final months of 2022, including continued scene work on their assigned chapters. New onboarding documentation was also created to better support new starters. Narrative, November and December were busy months for the narrative team. Yeah, it's busy months for all of you guys. You're trying to finish a game and get it out the door. If somebody isn't having busy months now, you kind of need to look at what they're doing. Firstly, they had week-long performance capture shoot in the UK to close out capturing wild lines for one of the enemy factions. I think that's generally what they say when they're not being directly engaged. So if you just hear them, you hear people talking as they're walking by you, or having conversations with each other, I think those are wild lines. Or if they're sending out like threats or taunts or things like that, those might be wild lines. Not 100% sure. Picked up content to support the new dynamic conversation system that will provide exciting opportunities for NPCs to chat with each other, which is kind of what I was getting at. This opens a lot of opportunities for contextual conversations that can help maintain the illusion of life and storytelling outside of dedicated scripted scenes. So just kind of giving you context to the world, which is a good touch. Based on the scope of the script, it shouldn't come as a surprise that there are a lot of characters that the players will meet over the course of the game. This list is complicated by the fact that some of the characters will have a schedule that will drive them from work to rest, necessitating a variety of clothing to be available. Nightgowns. Everybody's going to have little nightcaps and nightgowns. I'm calling it. Even the Vandal. They don't wear clothes in space. They wear nightgowns to bed. The little butt flap. Calling it. Spoilers right here. Tech animation. Tech animation spent the rest of the year focusing on head asset processing. All right. We've been taking some long overdue actors and starting the internal processing procedure to create their likenesses. This includes creating over 78 scans per head asset and processing them to the neural head asset. Some of these actors were scanned over 7 years ago on the main shoot for Squadron 42, so they look quite different these days. I'll bet they do, especially method actors like Gary Oldman. Probably looks quite a bit different now. The team take these complex scans and break them down into individual muscle movements and apply them to the facial rig asset, ultimately including them in the gene pool to give more variety to the heads and faces seen in games or in game. So that's the other thing that I want to see this year is a new character builder. I thought the Ace Ventura hair was funny the first time I saw it. In the last 8 years is kind of lost that humor for me. It's kind of like, oh, okay, guys, come on, you can do better than this. Actually, I guess they've only had the character creator for like 5 years, something like that. VFX through November. Didn't we already have VFX? Oh, programming. Okay, so VFX is kind of programming in a sense. VFX team progressed with the particle library overhaul. This included creating custom levels showing all available effects. That's kind of a cool visual way to do it. Basically kind of like having a museum of effects that people can walk through and be like, oh, okay, I want to put that in the level. Nice way to do it. The artists also continued to support the art and design teams on key locations and cinematic scenes. Elsewhere, working alongside the VFX programmers, the new quantum travel effects were made functional. Previously, they were in-engine prototypes. Okay. All right. Having seen these effects properly working, there's still some tweaking to be done to better match the prototype. We'll see you next month in transmission. So there you go. That's basically Squadron 42. It's always kind of good to look at this. Squadron 42 is kind of a canary in the coal mine for the PU, even though they don't give us as much information on it. Squadron 42 is getting it first, so you can kind of see if AI is looking really, really strong for Squadron 42, and it sounds like they're kind of in the polishing mode, that probably means that we're going to get an iteration in the PU once they hit that point. But gang, that's it for this one. Like I said, this one relatively short and sweet, so that's all I got. See you next time.